Hello and welcome. You're watching India Global. I'm Gauri Dwivedi. The next 30 minutes, we get you all the stories that matter to the global Indian. As always, we start the show with headlines telling you the top stories we're tracking this hour. First up, a huge diplomatic win for India a fortnight after the US designated TRF, the outfit responsible for the heinous Pahalgam terror attack, as a global terror outfit. United Nations follows suit. India's first outreach to Syria after the ouster of the Assad regime. New Delhi sends a delegation for official talks to Damascus. Bangladesh, yet again, disturbing news coming in from Bangladesh, where violent mob wrecks Hindu homes. At least 15 Hindu homes have been ransacked in the Rangpur district of Bangladesh. Tsunami rocks the Pacific after 8.7 earthquake near the Russian coast. Across the Pacific, countries are on high alert. US tightens its visa rules amidst Trump's immigration crackdown. Come 2nd of September, US visa interview waiver will only be in special cases. Impact will be on B1, B2 and H1B visas. And ISRO NASA space coup, NISA satellite launch to happen today. Details only on India Global. In a big diplomatic win for India, viewers, the United Nations Security Council has for the first time officially designated the Resistance Front, or TRF, in a sanctions monitoring report and responsible for the terror attack that took place in Pahalgam on the 22nd of April. The report has explicitly cited TRF's claim of responsibility for the attack that killed 26 innocent people. In fact, this is the first time the TRF, a proxy group linked to Lashkar-e-Taiba, has been named in any formal United Nations document. The report's inclusion of TRF happened despite strong diplomatic resistance by Pakistan. Remember, this happens just a fortnight after US designated TRF as a global terror outfit. And now with the UN doing so as well, it means that all funding lines of TRF and hopefully at some point of time of some of the other Lashkar-e-Taiba entities will be capped. And that's the most important thing that India has been asking for. So big diplomatic win coming in for India there. Marking a fresh beginning in ties with Syria in the post-Assad era, India has sent a senior official to Damascus to meet with the ministers in the transitional government led by Ahmed Hussein al-Shara. An Indian delegation reportedly met Syrian Minister of Foreign Affairs and expatriates this week, with talks focusing primarily on pharmaceutical and such other areas. But this is the first big diplomatic push that is being made by India ever since the Assad regime was overturned. Also important to keep in mind that this is a middle-level diplomat that is heading the delegation, because India, as I said, is still testing waters as to how it is going to now look at going forward. Extremely important, on 8th of December is when the Assad regime was overturned, and 9th is when India did evacuate several of its people from there. About 77 people were evacuated by India after the Assad regime fell. And now the first major diplomatic steps being made by India to be able to now assess how it will go ahead in terms of its relationship with Syria. Extremely significant, comes in, as I said, after India evacuated the 77 people between 10th and 11th of December. 8th of December is when Bashar al-Assad departed from Syria. He and his father actually ruled Syria for about 50 odd years, and now is when the interim government came on the 13th of March, and now the country is expected to hold its first parliamentary election under the al-Shara administration in September. So ahead of that, ahead of the elections that are set to take place around mid-September, India's first key diplomatic steps being taken as far as how it is now going to engage with the al-Shara government. The diplomatic push is an extremely significant development as far as India is concerned, and India is hoping that from here on it continues to have a significant play as far as the entire region is concerned. Those equations changed when the Bashar al-Assad regime was overturned, but now India is making those very important steps forward in terms of ensuring that it continues to have a major play in the entire region. All right, let's now look at the other important story that we are tracking on the show, which is, well, if you're planning a trip to the US later this year, well, starting 2nd of September 2025, the State Department is now coming out with tighter set of visa norms for all categories. The US has tightened its non-immigrant visa norms, including conditions for interview waivers come the 2nd of September. And this is for across the board, all categories. And in fact, has even done away with age exemptions that were there. For those who are under the age of 14, those who are over the age of 79, all of those exemptions have also been done away with. So you do need a visa interview to be actually eligible to get an interview, to get a visa later on. So you have to have an interview process. That exception has also gone away. And barring those very few exceptions, everybody now needs to have an interview, an in-person interview, to be able to qualify to get a visa. And that's really the big question that we are putting out, viewers. Let's put that out for our viewers joining in right now as to why is this so significant. First and foremost, will this make the entire visa process longer? Because now you're going to wait for your interview as well. Even renewal is going to take time. The second key question that we're putting out, what is the ultimate goal of these multiple rounds of screening that are happening? Even for those who are up for renewal, renewal means that you've already undertaken a certain process of screening in the first time, but you want now, the Trump administration wants to do that all over again. Third fact, will H-1B visa delay impact companies' plans? H-1B, India actually has upwards of 2 lakh issuance of H-1B visas every year. And will that have an impact? And let's put that out as well. And in fact, the bottom line, viewers, as far as this entire issue is just this, which is that 2,07,000 has been the amount of H-1B visas granted to India every year. These are, this category of visa holders add to the American economy. When the entire visa process gets delayed, it has a larger impact on the American ecosystem as well as companies' plans as well. Second, what is the logic of being able to now have interview after interview is the key question, because what one sees is it's actually a news that's being tightened around all those who want to now come to the US. First, there is screening of social media. Then there is mining of all personal details that has to be done. Now there is in-person interview. Age exemptions have also been done away with. This is the new normal in America and the world over. Now people need to budget for that. What is the objective of this screening in the name of national security is a separate question altogether. But one thing is for sure, it is going to lead to more delays, and we need to now be able to budget for that. All right, viewers, the other story that we are tracking on the show, which is, well, bringing parents to Canada permanently is one of the many dreams of sons and daughters. After becoming permanent residents themselves, the Canadian federal government has officially reopened the parents and grandparents program for 2025. Basically, since 28th of July, Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, that is the IRCC, has begun issuing invitations to apply for permanent residents and Canadian citizens who wish to sponsor their parents or grandparents. So the impact of this is going to be about 10,000 families will be able to be reunited when they can get their parents and grandparents. How much of this will impact specifically Indians is a figure that we don't know so far, but 10,000 does indicate that given the fact that Indians form a large part of the diaspora there, it could be a significant amount for Indian families there as well. The IMF has raised India's economic growth forecast upwards to 6.4%, citing a more favorable global economic environment. And it's a huge push that's coming in for the Indian economy, which says that that India will continue to be the economic engine for the world, lifting the global economy. And IMF has also increased and revised upwards the global economic guideline as well. The forecast for the world economy has increased, and a large part of that has to do with India. Let's play out the soundbite that tells you more on that.
We have actually quite stable growth. In 2024, the growth outcome was 6.5%. and we project for 2025 6.4 as well as in 2026. And the reason for this upward revisions to growth is because of the common factor that Pierre-Olivier talked about. The suspension of higher tariff rates basically is the main driver. And on the inflation front, we also had some downward revisions. What has been the driver of this relatively stable growth is the fact that there has been a reform momentum supporting robust consumption growth and a push for public investment.
All right, viewers, a quick break. We return with lots more on the other side of India Global. Stay with us. The other big story that we are tracking on the show, which is what's happening as far as Bangladesh is concerned. Bangladesh continues to be on the brink, and the one thing that we can say with complete certainty is that the Hindu minority continues to be targeted by mob violence repeatedly. In the latest, a dozen homes belonging to Bangladeshi Hindus have been damaged by a mob over the weekend in northwestern part of Bangladesh. The violence erupted on Saturday after a 17-year-old Hindu boy allegedly made some derogatory remarks. The response was that there was a complete mob violence that the Hindu community there in that area had to suffer. Police have made some arrests. The teenager has been arrested, a third semester student at a private polytechnic institute. Enraged locals carried out attacks, vandalized several homes belonging to the members of the Hindu community on Saturday night and again on Sunday afternoon. The situation is now under control, but the questions remain the same. Let's put that out, viewers. The big questions that we are asking. And frankly, India Global has been asking those questions again and again. On 5th of August, it's going to be 1 year since the Sheikh Hasina's the rule was overturned. And since then, ever since the interim advisor's government started on 8th of August, this trend hasn't changed. But we will keep asking those big questions, viewers. First on your screens, are Hindu homes soft targets in Bangladesh? Should UNIS government do more for Hindu minorities' trust and confidence that has broken in the last 1 year? Is it now incumbent on the government to do more? And what must UNIS do to rein in the violence? At the end of the day, what has happened in the last 1 year is mainstreaming of radical Islamists in Bangladesh. How is it that now Muhammad Yunus is going to rein in those Islamist elements? Lastly, is this yet another low as far as the ties between the two sides? Let's get in Muhammad Rashid Alam Bhuiya, who is an associate professor joining me live on the show. He's an associate professor at Dhaka University. Sir, your first thoughts on the questions that we're posing on the show. Are Hindu homes soft targets in Bangladesh?
Thank you for connecting me on these issues. Like I expressed my this sorrow on the matter what happened in Rampur. It's the countryside in Bangladesh. So the questions, I think, it's not actually that. The what happening at the moment is everywhere in the world. It's not only in Bangladesh. So the certain outrage against the derogatory comments against Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that taken place on the other day, and the communities, particularly the extremist communities, who showed something violence on this regard, and I feel every sorrow on this matter. But it's not that it's always the situation, same thing like that. It's like it's happening. It's not regularly happening. It's happening some parts of the country somewhere, but it's not that overall all the communities in Bangladesh are buying this ideology or buying. If we have every respect for our prophet, but the showing your response this way is not appropriate. I think if somebody made these derogatory remarks, you should report to the police station. There is a law, there is a cyber act here, and the police will do their investigation and do the necessary things, but not the way you showed your response that the community did. And it's some parts, and it's happening in India, it's happening other parts of the country as well. But I totally
Mr. Bhuiya, no, sir. I gave you all the time to speak simply because I want you to share your thoughts. But when you start generalizing by saying it happens here, it happens there, it happens everywhere, you are normalizing it. Please, sir. I will give you all the time on the show without interruption, provided you answer the question and not normalize it. let's not normalize this Hindu hatred that has actually peaked in the last 1 year, sir. This is not an isolated instance. You would agree there. This is now a pattern that is developing there. Go ahead.
I think it's not a pattern. I mean, I'm not normalizing. I said this happening couple of times. It's happened. It happened. And do you agree about whether it's happening in India as well? So it's not the general feeling of our community.
No, what is happening in India, sir? No. Again, you're normalizing it. Again, you're generalizing it. You're giving vague answers. Sir, you're an academician. You're an intellectual. Don't speak like the spokesperson of any party. Don't speak like the interim advisors party. You are an intellectual. You're an academician.
No,
I'm sure a lot of people watching this hold you in very high state. Go ahead, sir. Respond to the pattern that is developing of the hatred that is coming to light by certain sections in the Bangladeshi society towards the minorities. And that is coming out in terms of this instance. That's my point, sir.
I probably you didn't observe that I denounce this kind of activity. This kind of response is not expected, and I said I condemn this kind of activity. And I said the person, the community who committed this kind of violence, I denounce their activity. But I said what I said is not the general position of all the Bangladeshis here in Bangladesh. We have a communal harmony for years, for centuries here in Bangladesh, and this kind of tension is taking place. It's not this only one this year. It happened over the years. It's not that only last 1 year that happening. That's why I want to tell. And it's not expected. It's not should happen. It should not be happen. What I'm trying to say, and that's my position. I'm sorry if I misunderstood, but that's not the position that I'm buying this and I'm normalizing it. But what I'm trying to say, the response that the government authorities did immediately, they inspect the places, they try to restore the communal harmony, the armies, the police officials are there, they try to repair those houses, but it should not be happened, first of all.
Absolutely.
But then the community responses, like the government authority response was necessary. That's what need to be done from the government authority. There is more, I'm not saying that it's not happening in India, it's happening there. It's other parts of the world, but it's not normalizing. It's some sort of community doing this activity, it's not everyone doing this.
Okay.
That's what I'm
Okay, Mr. Bhuiya, thanks much for speaking to me. You'll appreciate I gave you uninterrupted time to make your points, and I appreciate the fact that you said that this is something that must be addressed, and I'm only hopeful that this will be addressed, because it's, as I said, it's been 1 year of the turbulence that continues in Bangladesh with minorities facing
our
the
civil
brunt.
society and government is very watchful on this issue, and we're not buying this extremist ideology. We respect our prophet, but not the way to responding to the minority communities who are our brothers, our sisters. We're living there with centuries, and we have a very good friendship with our friends. They have communities across the different religions. It's not a matter.
All right, Mr. Bhuiya.
There should be appropriate response for the government authority after this kind of movement, and the civil society is supporting this.
We'll leave it there, sir. Thanks much for speaking to me on India Global. Shifting focus now to the other big story that we're tracking. Well, External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar today spoke in Rajya Sabha. He refuted Donald Trump's claims of brokering the ceasefire between India and Pakistan. Remember, there is the Operation Sindoor debate that's happening in the Indian Parliament, and the upper house of Parliament. Dr. Jaishankar refuted the opposition's claims that have been going ad nauseum again and again about Trump playing any role whatsoever. From the floor of the House, the External Affairs Minister fact-checked the opposition. Let's play that out for you.
Mentions in the preamble that the Indus Waters Treaty is done in a spirit of goodwill and friendship. Sir, since 1960, we have had neither goodwill nor friendship. We've had terrorism, we've had attacks on our population, we've had wars. Such a treaty had to be dealt with, and this government dealt with it. उनको फिक्र थी पाकिस्तानी पंजाब, उनको फिक्र जम्मू एंड कश्मीर के किसानों पे नहीं थी, उनको सर फिक्र राजस्थान के किसानों की नहीं थी, उनको फिक्र हिमाचल पर नहीं थी.
Ruchi ji has right to speak. No, please.
और
you'll get your opportunity to speak. Please.
सर उनका कहना था उनका कहना था कि संसद का ना हक है कि कितना पानी जाए ना कितना पैसा जाए। और सर जो वो कहते हैं कि हमने शांति, ये शांति की कीमत थी, नहीं सर, ये तुष्टीकरण की कीमत थी।
That was Dr. Jaishankar making it very clear that as far as the Indus Water Treaty is concerned, he slammed the opposition when the government took the serious measure as far as putting the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance after the Pahalgam terror attack. Shifting focus now to the other important story that we are tracking on the show. Well, it is the latest as far as the earthquake that struck far eastern regions of Russia, where the tsunami rocked the Pacific after the earthquake that took place near the Russian coast. It was actually 8.8 on the Richter scale, and what it has done is that the entire Pacific, parts of Japan, US and Far East in Russia, in parts of China, Taiwan, all have issued tsunami warnings. Tsunami wave over 5 foot have been seen in parts of Hawaii as well, with the Hawaii governor saying that everything is okay so far. A 3-foot high wave hit northeast Japan. 1.9 million people across Japan have been issued after the advisory, the evacuation advisory was issued by authorities. Over 9 lakh or 900,000 under evacuation notice in Japan's Pacific coast. Russian district that was hit by waves has declared a state of emergency. Those are visuals, viewers, that tell you how scary the nature's fury could be, even as the sirens were heard after the earthquake came. Days ahead of the self-imposed August 1st deadline date before the tariffs come into effect, US President Donald Trump has stated that the India-US trade deal was working out very well, but hinted at a 20% or maybe a 25% tariff on India. Now, how this is likely to pan out remains to be seen, but India and the US have been negotiating some possibility of a trade deal, but there have been thorny issues that continue today, and the sticky points remain. On the Indian side, India is very clear that it recently concluded a successful deal with the UK on its own terms, and that's the template India wants to follow with the US as well, which is it needs to protect its own interests, it needs to ensure that markets open up for its domestic industry in America, and at the same time, mobility of its people is also not compromised. Those are the 3 broad pillars that of national interests through which the trade deal with the US is being discussed and debated. Till now, there have been early breakthroughs, but sticking point remains to be seen that on 1st of August, when the deadline comes in, will there actually be these kind of tariffs as Donald Trump is saying, or could there be some sort of a possibility of having a breather? All right, turning attention now, India and America have united to launch DISAR, the world's most expensive civilian Earth imaging satellite that's built in California and Bengaluru and set to launch from Sriharikota. In fact, NDTV's science editor, Pallava Bagla, has been tracking this very closely for us. But let me tell you, viewers, as far as the details of the satellite is concerned, is that what we know so far, that NASA and ISRO have come together. It's a synthetic aperture radar Earth observation satellite built jointly by NASA and ISRO and to be launched by GSLV Mk2 rocket. And the satellite weighs about 2,300 kilos and features 12-meter diameter antenna and to be placed in the 747-kilometer orbit, and it's the most expensive satellite worth $1.3 billion. With that, it's a wrap on the show. Thanks so much for watching this edition of India Global.